So with Marisol, something I found fascinating just about the characters. We start off with everybody loves Peppina this tree, Marisol doesn't. So that's right away. That's how we're presented with her. And then the next chapter is she's talking with Jada about places that she might go and all the reasons she can't go there because it could immediately turn terrible. So we're introduced to this worrywart aspect, and yet I don't hate this character. I feel quite I like her, and as it goes, I'm rooting for her. How do you pull that trick off? These are not likable things that Marisol is doing right off the bat, and yet she does
Yes.
likable.
That is such a great question because, and that's something that I kind of have struggled with in other books too, because I tend to write characters who can be a little defeatist and don't have a lot of faith in themselves. And that can get exhausting for readers, right? Because you're just kind of like, okay, I think the way I get around it, or the way I hope that I get around it, is it's written in third person, and that does create a little more distance for the reader as they're experiencing Marisol. So if we were in first person, it would be very exhausting to spend a first person narrative with a character who's constantly talking about all the things they can't do and is constantly having these defeatist thoughts, or is constantly feeling sorry for themselves. I mean, I feel like that would be difficult in first person, so it's written in third person so that the reader has a little bit more perspective than Marisol does, and knows that she's capable of more than she understands herself to be. And that's kind of the joy of writing in third person, in my point of view.
So was that a conscious decision going in that, hey, I'm writing this type of character, so I better make sure I don't do first person? Or did you figure that out as you were working?
No, I knew right off the bat that I was going to write it in third person. And I think that's, I don't know if it was as concrete as I just explained it, but that's definitely part of the thought process. Is sometimes I just know naturally I go to third person usually as a writer, but I think that's why. I think because a lot of my books and a lot of my characters, I want the reader to understand the character better than they know themselves. And for me, that's easier to do in third person because you're able to give a little bit more perspective than first person allows.
Something I noticed is that, well, without spoiling, Marisol maybe does not rescue a one-eyed cat. She literally saves a cat. I don't know if that was you kind of winking and nodding. It's like, hey, look at my character doing the heroic thing, or that just like that's a happy coincidence.
It was kind of a happy coincidence, but it's also like, because Marisol is a lot like me, I was channeling a lot of myself, because that's the kind of kid I was. I was always like, oh, no one's going to want this one, so that's the one that I have to get, because otherwise it'll just be alone the whole time. And that's another thing that I felt like was important. When I was a kid, I was very, very sensitive, and a lot of things made me sad, and a lot of things hurt my feelings. And when I was growing up, that really felt like a liability. It didn't feel like a good thing to be. And I want young people to know that it's not a liability. It's actually a good thing. It's a good thing if you have empathy and compassion. So I wanted to show that in Marisol as well, and show it as something to be celebrated and not something to feel bad about, if that makes sense.